Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic, where we try to make the magic meta mad. Now, Black Tron was a really popular video, and a couple of people pointed out to me that I probably should have been running Baleful Mastery, and it would have helped against a lot of the decks playing larger creatures that had higher CMC than 2. And I think... So that's not the only adjustment I've made. I'm playing Baleful Mastery as an additional answer to Planeswalkers, which I think is very important. I've maxed out on the hand hate almost, or as much as I'm comfortable anyway, playing Inquisition and Thoughtseize 3 and 3. I have a 4th Thoughtseize in the side just in case I need it. I've gone up to 3 Maze Mind Tomes. I dropped the Prophetic Prisms because we really didn't need the double black almost ever, except for Mastermind's acquisition. I've cut Worst Fears because as good as it is, I'm trying to lower the curve a little bit more. So we're basically not trying to assemble Tron until the late game, just trying to be like a grindy black mid-range deck. I've gone up on Maze Mind Tome because I think drawing additional cards is going to be very important in this deck. And out of the sideboard, I added a Necromentia. And I thought something else, but it's not jumping out to me at the moment. So I'm going to run this through another league, and we'll see what happens. So I'll see you guys in round 1. Alright, we're on the play for round 1, and we do have Tron mana, so I'm gonna keep, I think. So, lead on Power Plant, play map, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Steam Vents untap. This is probably Blitz, but it could be Through the Breach. Play Tower, pass the turn. Opponent opts. Could also be Storm. Don't know. This opponent untaps. They play a Mountain. Alright, let's go ahead and Expedition map. We'll go get Urza's Mine. We untap. We draw another Power Plant. Play Mine. Play Thought-Knot Seer. Playing around Mana Leak, but not around Remand. Okay, opponent has Remand. They pass. We pass. Opponent untaps. They play a Sacred Foundry. Untapped. So they probably have a path. We draw Baleful Mastery. So play Thought-Knot. Okay, Thought-Knot resolves. Opponent has Indomitable Creativity, Through the Breach, Valakut Awakening, and Remand. So they are very much a polymorph deck, and they will have 3 mountains next turn. But we don't particularly care about creativity. We do kind of care about Through the Breach, and we do kind of care about Remand. Valakut Awakening is also pretty strong. We can play around creativity by playing a Swamp and leaving up Baleful Mastery to hit the token. We can't really play around Through the Breach, and we can't really play around Awakening. I think I take Remand here. Play a Swamp, pass the turn. So opponent's going to cast Valakut Awakening. I don't think they put anything back. Hang on, let me check the game log. They put 1 card back. It was probably a land, if I had to guess. So I imagine my opponent just goes for the polymorph here. So they play Wooded Foothills, they crack Wooded Foothills. They get a Dwarven Mine, they make a token. They go for the creativity. So, Baleful Mastery. Full price. They don't get to draw any cards. Take out the Dwarf. It's kind of good that we had that instead of the Bloodchief's Thirst, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to play this. Okay. Indomitable Creativity fizzles. We untap. We draw a Thoughtseize. So, let's take a look at what's going on over there. They have Through the Breach and Prismari Command. I think we take Through the Breach. Then what I'm going to do is play Maze Mind Tome, draw with Maze Mind Tome. We get an Urborg. I'll play a Swamp. No reason to play out the Urborg right now. So opponent we know is holding 2 lands and a Prismari Command. Okay, so opponent drew an Opt. They can destroy Maze Mind Tome if they want to, but I imagine they just use like looting mode and make a treasure, because that gives them a target for, what's it called? Their polymorph spell. So we're going to start this turn by drawing an extra card, Inquisition. So go to combat, attack for 4, opponent goes down to 7, and we fire off Inquisition. Opponent probably Prismari commands in response to do something. Okay, they're going to go looting and make a treasure. So let's see what they discard. Wooded Foothills, Timely Reinforcements. So Inquisition finds us nothing, which means Thought-Knot Seer will find us nothing. They have nothing they can flash back out of the grave, so I'm going to go ahead and play Thought-Knot Seer here, just so that we can present lethal and force our opponent to have to play Dwarven Mine. giving us 2 opportunities to hopefully draw a card for removal, and then we can just swing lethal. Okay, bonus scoops. We got there. Now, we don't know what they're polymorphing into, but I definitely want Surgical. I want the other Thoughtseize. I think I want Thought Distortions, and I kind of want Force of Despair. Bloodchief's Thirst is decent, but less good here. I don't think I'll need Relic. Consuming Vapors. Actually, the Edict effects might be good if my opponent is playing Emrakul. Let's see, what is least good now? Like, Plague Engineers and Damnations are also fine. I don't know if they're better than what we currently have, though, is the question. Wormcoil seems less important. I think I will cut Consuming Vapors because it's just a little too expensive for what it does. And I like having Dismember because it's instant speed removal along with Baleful Mastery. I could cut Increasing Ambition or Trading Post. I think I'm going to cut Trading Post, actually. We'll try it like this. So the plan is Inquisition or Thoughtseize and then Surgical. Hopefully. You know. If they're trying to polymorph in Emrakul, that's why we have Force of Despair and other spells like that, so we could actually destroy Emrakul if necessary. 2/3 of Tron, 4 hand hate spells. Keep. Hopefully this is enough interaction with our opponent's combo. It may not be, we'll find out though. So we untap, we draw Expedition Map. Think we lead on Inquisition. We'll go for the turn 4 Tron. The opponent cracks Wooded Foothills in response. Shocks a Steam Vents. They opt. Okay, then we get to Inquisition. Opponent has Teferi Time Raveler, Remand, Indomitable Creativity. Remand is annoying, but Teferi is actually a problem. And this is our only time to nab Teferi. Just because we might need to use an instant speed kill spell this game. I could take Creativity and then they would have nothing and they'd have to draw it. But we don't have a second black source, so if they remand Thoughtseize, we can't recast it. I think I'm going to take Teferi here, though this might be wrong. So, opponent's turn 2. They probably play Wooded Foothills. Actually, they probably play... Never mind. I was going to say Sacred Foundry, but... Because they want to save a red fetch for Dwarven Mine, I think. We draw a Maze Mine Tome. Play Thoughtseize. Okay. Opponent cracks Wooded Foothills. They're going for the remand, I imagine. They get a basic mountain. Okay. They remand... And they have 2 different remand arts, so we know which one they played. Then we'll play Power Plant and play Map. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Sacred Foundry tapped. We untap. We draw an Urza's Mine. So let's go ahead and Thoughtseize. This is going to get remanded as well. Okay. Play Urza's Mine. We'll go ahead and map. Maybe I should have Maze Mine Tomed there, but... I think I just mapped for a swamp, actually. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Bloodstained Mire. So whatever they're polymorphing into, they get to polymorph here. Yeah, maybe taking Remand was correct. It should be Emrakul. Yep. It is, in fact, Emrakul. Alright. We untap. We draw a swamp. And that's the game. Yeah. So I think I missequenced, and I think I took Teferi unnecessarily. I should have just taken the Remands. Or the... control spell. Oh, I'll bring in Necromentia. That's probably better than Force of Despair, because I can just name Emrakul, now that we know that they're trying to play Emrakul. Maybe Damnation is better than... Do I have any other sorcery speed removal? Not really. It might be better than Thought Distortion. I'll bring in a Damnation, because if they're polymorphing into Emrakul, they don't get a chance to cast it, so they don't get the extra turn. That might give us a chance to board wipe. I would like to play first. Yeah, this hand seems reasonable. Tribute to Hunger gains us 15 life versus an Emrakul, which is kind of fun. I am going to lead on Expedition Map here, because we are on the play. Pass the turn. Opponent leads on a Sacred Foundry tapped. We untap. We draw a second map. Inquisition. Opponent has Teferi, Emrakul, Path. Take Teferi. Take Teferi. So Mountain, Emrakul, Steam Vents, Bloodstained Mire, Path. That's their hand. Cool. Alright, pass the turn. So opponent has basically nothing now. They play a Steam Vents tapped. We untap. We draw a Maze Mine Tome. So crack map. Get Eldrazi Temple. Play Eldrazi Temple. Play map. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a mountain. So they could have Prismari Command here. We draw Urborg. I don't think it's worth playing around Censor. Watch me get censored, or Mana Tithe. We'll play Thought Knot Seer. Opponent will likely path with it on the stack. They do have Prismari Command, and they do have Emrakul. I'm gonna take Prismari Command. They drew Dwarven Mine. Play Urborg. Pass the turn. If opponent goes for the Polymorph, we'll get him with the Tribute to Hunger. Opponent probably paths on our end step. Yep. So get a Swamp. Opponent gets to draw a card. It's through the Breach right now that we have to worry about, really. Opponent drew an Opt. Opponent untaps. They draw. Cleansing Wildfire, Eldrazi Temple. You got it. They get to draw a card. We get a Swamp. They play Dwarven Mine. They get a 1/1. The Edict does not matter if my opponent gets to keep a Dwarf. So we do actually need to answer that creature. We untap. We draw a Thought Knot Seer. So crack Expedition map. Get a Mine. Play the Mine. Play Thought Knot Seer. I did this because we needed colorless mana to actually cast Thought Knot. This opponent has Emrakul, 3 lands. Take Emrakul. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Scalding Tarn. Then they pass. We untap. We draw Baleful Mastery, which is kind of a nice insurance policy. Go to combat. Attack them for 4. No blocks for the opponent. They go to 16. Then we play Maze Mind Tome. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Scalding Tarn on our end step. They get another Dwarven Mine. Sure. They untap. They play Dwarven Mine number 3, which is a card we didn't know they had. They attack us for 2. That's fine, actually. We go down to 16. Draw a card on their end step. We get another Thought Knot Seer. Untap. Draw Power Plant. Play Power Plant. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Opponent takes 4 and goes to 11. Play Thought Knot Seer. Leave up Tribute to Hunger. Take Emrakul. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. They play Bloodstained Mire. And they pass. Well, on their end step, draw an extra card. Maze Mind Tome. Untap. We draw. Thoughtseize. Alright. Hand check. Emrakul. They shuffle everything back in. Go to combat. Attack for 8. Opponent takes 8 and goes to 3. Alright, pass the turn. Opponent passes. On their end step, let's draw a card. Another map. We untap. We draw Tower. Well, Tower's kind of nice. Play Tower. Draw another card. Gain 4 life. So Emrakul is not lethal. We get a Mastermind's Acquisition. Let me take a look at my sideboard really quick. We get Mastermind's Acquisition for Plague Engineer. You know what? Let's do it. How often do you get to wish for a sideboard card that wins the game? And I mean, in this particular situation, Plague Engineer is pretty good. Play Plague Engineer. Played around Mana Leak. Played around Remand. Game's over. Wow, that extra hand hate really helped. Now, that was kind of impressive. I'm not gonna lie. I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright, we are on the draw for round 2. And this hand is almost okay. If we had a second land, I would keep it, but we don't. So we're gonna mulligan. And this hand is a lot better. So I'm gonna keep. I'll be putting back Trading Post, I think. Watch it be burn, and I'll really have wanted that Trading Post. Alright, it looks like it could be humans. It could be Jeskai Ascendancy. I'm gonna imagine that it's humans. If it is humans, I think I want to dismember the Dork. Opponent untaps. They play a Plains. Thalia? Thalia. Alright. Well, we untap. We draw Collective Brutality. So play Tower. Play Relic. Exile a card from their grave. Pass the turn. I don't know if they play like Renegade Rallier or any way to buy back creatures from the grave, but I imagine it is possible. They play Horizon Canopy. Kitesail Freebooter. So I imagine they take Brutality here, because that is our only reasonably castable spell. Anything else draws them a card. By anything else, I mean Baleful Mastery. I might have to Baleful Mastery something for the cheap price. Opponent is thinking hard. They take Brutality. That seems reasonable. They hit us for 2. That's fine. We untap. We draw Inquisition. Well, I think we have to cast Baleful Mastery this turn. As much as I like Inquisition. Opponent untaps. They play a land. Black-white. They're going to play Silverquill Silencer. So we'll go ahead and kill Freebooter. Opponent does get to draw a card. Silverquill Silencer is going to name either Collective Brutality or Thought Knot Seer, and I imagine it's Brutality. They name Collective Brutality. Man, if we could top deck Power Plant here, it'd be so good. Just like unbelievably good. Opponent plays Thalia as Lieutenant. Alright. They hit us for 3, we go to 11. We untap. We draw Erebos' Intervention. So we can Erebos' Intervention to kill Thalia's Lieutenant. But I think we've got a 2-mode. Drain and kill. We'll hit Thalia, drain our opponent, pay 3 mana, and ditch Inquisition. We do end up losing a life in this exchange, but we've got to answer Thalia. We're going to need a big Erebos' Intervention, I think, to get back in this game. The good news is our threats are very, very highly diversified, and Silverquill Silencer is, like, pretty bad. Even though it's, like, kind of good here because it's aggressive, it's still bad, because imagine if that had been Meddling Mage. Like, and we'd not been able to Collective Brutality at all. And they're playing Ancient Ziggurat. It's not like they can't, you know, have that card or anything. Alright, we definitely need to draw a Power Plant here to gain enough life to survive, I think. We untap. We draw a Power Plant. Nice. So we're at 3, and if we kill the Silencer, opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I could gain 5 and kill Silencer, and then I would be at 1. I could play Thought-Knot Seer and duress my opponent's hand, then just kill Silencer and gain 3. That might be better. So we're going to do this so that we have a blocker. Hopefully our opponent does not have 2 spells that interact with Thought-Knot Seer. They have Reflector Mage and Mantis Rider. So take Reflector Mage so we don't die. I think I'm still dead, actually. Because if they play Mantis Rider, that pumps both Champion and Lieutenant. And so if we blocked the Lieutenant and killed the Silencer, we would be still taking 7, and we're only gaining 3. Alright, pass to our second main. I actually have to cycle this. Okay. Now I have to cast this, unfortunately. But we're just dead on board, so maybe I shouldn't have shown my opponent that. I was thinking if I drew some kind of better removal spell, but I honestly think that was the best one we had in this situation. And it's only because my opponent had Reflector Mage and a Mantis Rider there. Opponent just... Oh, okay, that's because we're dead without Mantis Rider. Yeah, alright. So we scoop. Versus humans, I definitely think we bring in Plague Engineer, we bring in Damnation. I might want Force of Despair. Relic is bad. The good news is we're like a pile of kill spells, right? So we should be fine. And we're like diversified in our kill spells, so it shouldn't be that difficult to get something. Ugin is really good, but it's also difficult for us to cast. I think I actually need to cut some Thoughtseizes here. Opponent dumps their hand pretty quick. Cling to Dust could be important, but I don't think I just want to bring in straight life gain versus humans. Karn Liberated is not that great versus them. And I think I'm going to get rid of Trading Post as well. We'll try running it like this. Alright, I would like to play first. 2 lands, a Tribute to Hunger, a Thought-Knot Seer, a Mazemind Tome. I'm going to keep. And I'm going to lead on Tron Land Map. Pass the turn. So I might need to map for Eldrazi Temple here, depending on whether or not I draw land next turn, and what that land is. Okay, opponent leads on Aether Vial. We untap and draw Bloodchief's Thirst. So play a Swamp. We'll go ahead and get Eldrazi Temple. Pass the turn. I could have played Mazemind Tome there and tried to dig, which maybe I should have. So next turn we're either playing Thought-Knot Seer, or we're Bloodchief's Thirsting and then playing Mazemind Tome. Opponent plays a Cavern, names Human. Opponent plays Thalia. Alright. We untap and draw a Power Plant. I think I need to play Thought-Knot here. The opponent has Phantasmal Image and Kitesail Freebooter, so I'm glad I played Thought-Knot. We'll take Kitesail Freebooter. Pass the turn. So opponent right now is out of action. They'll probably end up playing Waterlogged Grove and cycling it, unless they draw something really good here that requires 3 mana. So they play Waterlogged Grove and cycle it. They can Phantasmal Image our Thought-Knot Seer. Wow, they drew Freebooter. Okay. So they can take Bloodchief's Thirst. To take Mazemind Tome. Interesting. We untap. We draw another Bloodchief's Thirst. So... go to combat. Attack them for 4. Opponent takes 4. Play Power Plant. Kill Freebooter. I can't play Maze Mind Tome because obviously our opponent can just... Well, I can't play Maze Mind Tome because they still have Thalia, and our opponent can Phantasmal Image our Thought-Knot Seer if they want, but we're a pile of kill spells, so that might not be the best thing. Opponent cycles Horizon Canopy. They did not leave up Vial for Phantasmal Image. Man, if we could draw Plague Engineer, that'd be awesome. Opponent attacks us for 3, that's fine. We untap and draw Damnation. So, Blood Chief's Thirst to kill Thalia. Play Maze Mind Tome. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Okay, opponent no blocks. They go to 12. We pass the turn. I'm not activating Maze Mind Tome yet, because there is the possibility my opponent has, like, Ghost Quarter. It's not super high, because I don't think they play a lot. They might play a Singleton. Their mana base is hard enough that they... Wow! They scoop? So we would have scryed... Swamp, I think to the top so we could Mastermind's Acquisition, but nice. Game 3, I don't think we make any adjustments, I think we just run it back. I think Force of Despair makes this hand keepable. The problem is, if we need to kill Thalia with Force of Despair, we can't lead on Expedition Map. Okay, opponent leads on Aether Vial. We draw Gemstone Caverns. So, I'm not actually going to play Map this turn. I'm kind of hoping my opponent plays 2 creatures. Like they Vial in a champion and then play Kitesail Freebooter or something. Second Aether Vial. Alright, this is working out better than anticipated. We draw a Wormcoil Engine. Play Power Plant, play Map. Pass the turn. I mean, I would like to draw a Swamp, but so far I'm okay with everything that's happened. Opponent untaps. Aether Vials... Maybe I shouldn't be playing this Gemstone Cavern. Maybe it should be like a Blast Zone or something. Alright, opponent puts the Aether Vial triggers on the stack. Ticks up to 1, ticks up to 2. They play an Ancient Ziggurat. Blue-white. Opponent plays Meddling Mage. Well, it's gonna get Force of Despair, probably. They name All Is Dust. Oh, opponent, you got me. Whatever will I do without my All Is Dust? Silver Quill Silencer. Okay, so they are Plague Bowl. Oh, this looks so delicious. Name whatever you want. Thought-Knot Seer. You got it. Force of Despair. Exiling Thoughtseize. The old 2 for 2, but no mana involved. We untap. We draw. Damnation. So, I can map for Tower, or I could map for Swamp and Inquisition. I could also map for Urborg, actually. But I'm giving up on playing Wormcoil if that's the case. I'm going to map for Urborg, because I think casting Damnation might be important. Play Urborg, Inquisition. Opponent has Thalia's Lieutenant and Reflector Mage. Take Lieutenant. We'll leave them with Reflector Mage for now. Opponent untaps. I really like how diversified our kill spells are in this deck. It makes Meddling Mage really bad. Because, like, no matter what they name, odds are we have at least 2 different spells that can kill Meddling Mage at the same time. It's the same with, like, Freebooter and stuff. It's kind of nice that Black does not have a homogenized best removal spell in the format. Although I'm very, very heavily leaning towards the fact that Baleful Mastery is pretty close to that. Okay, we drew Tower like a god. Play Wormcoil. This is going to get Reflector Maged. 100%. Ow, my ears. Alright. Pass the turn. I mean, if I can't cast Reflector Mage, or if I can't cast Wormcoil next turn, I guess I'll just have to cast Damnation. Like, I'm okay with this. Yep. You really showed me, opponent. There goes my Wormcoil. Vial in a 2-drop. Meddling Mage. You got it. Watch them name Force of Despair. They name Wormcoil. Oh, you really got me, opponent. How am I supposed to come back from that? Oh, no. Then they can't... Oh, they can cycle Horizon Canopy because we Urborged up their Ancient Ziggurat. Pass the turn. Alright, we have no instants, so we just kind of have to let this happen. We are going to get hit for at least 4, possibly 5 if my opponent draws an Anthem. I hope that it's 2 creatures and they just play them out, because then we can Damnation and we're golden. Kitesail Freebooter. Opponent sees Damnation. They take Collective Brutality. They Vial in a 3-drop. As long as it's not Glasspool Mimic, Meddling Mage... Ugh! What? Punished for not getting a basic Swamp. Okay. We need to draw a Swamp. Not a Swamp. Ugh. That's so lame. Why doesn't black have, like, single black, 4 colorless, destroy all creatures? Why does everything black have to be double black if it's good? Or single black if it only costs 1? We take a bunch of damage, we untap. This Worm Coil would be really good, but Meddling Mage is a really good card, too. God, that's so frustrating. I guess, yeah, maybe I should have gotten basic Swamp knowing my opponent had Magus of the Moon, but honestly, I haven't seen the Humans deck in forever. I didn't even realize they still played Magus. Like, I guess it's how they combat things like Valakut, but the fact that they have 2 Maguses now, yeah, there's nothing we can draw. Yeah, alright. Alright, I'll see you guys in round 3. That was really disappointing. We should have won that. Alright, we're on the play for game 3, and we have Natural Tron. Well, not Natural Tron, but Expedition Map plus Tron. Yeah, this Gemstone Cavern's really screwing us right now, the fact that it's not a basic Swamp. Play Expedition Map, pass the turn. Opponent leads on Bloodstained Mire. Gets a Sacred Foundry into a Goblin Guide. Draw me a Swamp Goblin Guide. There we go. Good Goblin Guide. We get a Baleful Mastery. Time to 3-mode Duress, Kill, Drain. Ditching Gemstone Caverns and, I think Baleful Mastery, honestly. Swift Spear, Eidolon of the Great Revel. So Duress was kind of bad, but that's fine. Opponent plays a Mountain. Plays a Swift Spear, plays a Swift Spear. Hits us for 2. We draw a Tower. So play a Mine, kill Swift Spear. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Sunbaked Canyon, plays an Eidolon. Hits us for 1. They still have 2 cards in hand, though. We draw Consuming Vapors. So play Thought Knot Seer, take a look at what's going on in that hand. Take Boros Charm. They can't beat it. Consuming Vapors, we didn't even have to show them, and Consuming Vapors would have been so good. So versus our opponent, let's bring in Cling to Dust. Probably over Thoughtseize, even though Thoughtseize is somewhat decent. I'm going to bring in Force of Despair and Damnations, and we're going to cut Relic, Dismember, and Karn. Try it like this. Alright, so in this situation, Gemstone Caverns is actually kind of good. We'll keep. Play out Gemstone Caverns, and I think I'm going to get rid of the Tron land here. I think the Eldrazi Temple is more important. Opponent leads on Bloodstained Mire. They play Goblin Guide. We draw the Tron land like a god. Alright, in this case, play Tower, 3-mode, Duress, Kill, Drain. We'll get rid of Swamp and a Maze Mine Tome. Searing Blaze we don't care about, so take Rift Bolt. Full value versus Burn. Feels good. Okay, opponent plays Swift Spear, plays Swift Spear. We untap. We draw Collective Brutality. So we don't have double black because I pitched the Swamp, but that's fine. Kill Swift Spear. Play Maze Mine Tome. Pass the turn. We're not going to scry yet because there is the possibility our opponent has another Goblin Guide. Except right now they don't. They go to combat. They attack us for 2. We go to 16. Do they still have this Sacred Foundry in hand? I think they do. Oh, they're saving it for Searing Blaze activation. Expedition Map. I'm going to put Map on the bottom. We untap. We draw Cling to Dust. So escalate 2 modes. Kill Duress. Ditch Cling to Dust. Yep. Pass the turn. And the game is over! Mono Black Tron taking out Burn. Alright, seems good. I will see you all in round 4. Less interaction in this hand than I want, but it seems like a decently proactive hand, so I'm going to keep. I might need to map for Eldrazi Temple. In fact, if I don't draw another Tron land by, like, next turn, I probably will. Okay, if this is Burn, this is a good hand to have. This is a really good hand to have with Trading Post. Play Expedition Map. Pass the turn. Is this the same guy? This is not the same. Okay, opponent plays Copperline Gorge. This could be Dredge, actually. It is Dredge. So Dredge is a little bit worse of a matchup. We do have some surgical extractions and stuff on the board, though. Opponent is getting back 2 Narcomoebas and a Prized Amalgam this turn, and along with a Bloodghast next turn. So I really hope that our Exile removal is going to be good enough. We draw a Thoughtseize, which I don't think is the correct choice here. Let's Maze Mine Tome. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. If we can get to Tron and Ugin, Ugin should win the game on the spot. Opponent loams back some lands. Plays a Wooded Foothills, gets Bloodghast. Alright. So they played Wooded Foothills. They're going to combat. They attack us for 5. Take 5, go to 15. On their end step, activate Maze Mind Tome. Baleful Mastery. That is exile removal. Do we keep that? It does give my opponent a dredge, actually. I can't full price it. I think I have to put Baleful Mastery back. We untap. We're going to scry again instead of drawing. Collective Brutality is a little bit better, but I think we can still do better than that. Well, we draw Collective Brutality anyway. Man, maybe I should be playing Bajuka Bog. Activate map. We'll get Power Plant. Play Power Plant. Pass the turn. I'll be scrying on my upkeep to see if I can't find Tower. Next turn we might be playing Thought Knot Seer, we might be playing Trading Post. Opponent fetches to get Bloodghast. Trading Post actually we probably won't be playing next turn, because Trading Post you need 5 mana to activate total to play and activate it. Collective Brutality might be able to gain us more life than Thought Knot Seer, but it's a little bit doubtful. Opponent loams again, they're up to 10 cards in hand. They play City of Brass, and they hardcast Golgari Thug, taking a damage. This is actually a pretty slow dredge hand. They hit us for a bunch. We untap. They discard Stinkweed Imp. We'll go ahead and scry on our upkeep. Mastermind's Acquisition to the bottom. Draw Baleful Mastery. Alright, new plan. 3 modes. Duress, kill, drain. Ditching Thoughtseize and increasing Ambition. Take Loam from them. They have to put a creature on top of their deck, so we know what they would be drawing. So they'll probably put back Thug. Makes sense. Okay. Now we pass, and we just Baleful Mastery, whatever saves us the most life. Opponent's going to dredge Stinkweed Imp. They hit an Archamoeba. And that Ox is an issue, though. Because that Ox can dredge them enough that we just die. And they hit another Bloodghast. Yeah, I think we did our best, but... Opponent plays Gemstone Mines, gets a Bloodghast. If we had been able to be at 11 instead of 10, and these Bloodghasts didn't get to attack, we might have stood a chance. The problem is my opponent has Creeping Chills, and whatever damage they're missing, they're gonna find. Like 100%. And Conflagrates. Alright. Okay, post-board we have Surgical Extractions, Cling to Dust, Nile Spellbomb, Damnation, we're gonna cut Thoughtseize, we're gonna cut Inquisition, Karn is no good here, and we have a lot of Grave Hate, so hopefully that makes a difference. I think I cut a Thought Knot Seer, actually. It's not bad, it's just not great. Alright, we'll play first. Turn 1 Relic. This is fine. With Maze Mind Tome, hopefully we can dig into black mana or the last Tron land. Single Relic is not going to be enough to win us the game versus Dredge, but it should make life easier enough that it can delay until we do something else. Opponent Gemstone Caverns, pitching Nature's Claim after mulliganing to like 5. So players is mine, play Relic. Pass the turn. They might regret pitching that Nature's Claim. They play Stomping Ground. They hardcast Loam. Exile Loam? We untap. Draw Cling to Dust. Play Power Plant. Play Maze Mind Tome. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play Shriekhorn. Scry with Maze Mind Tome. Swamp to the top. Untap. Draw Swamp. Play Swamp. Pass the turn. Man, we have more Grave Hate per square card than anything. Opponent mills Thug and Creeping Chill. See if they exile Creeping Chill. They don't. Okay, make them exile a card. They'll exile Chill. Then we Cling to Dust and gain life. Nice. Opponent untaps. They mill Thug and Foundry. And they get to draw. So they dredge Thug. They put a bunch of good stuff in the grave. Opponent hardcasts Thug. Yeah, that's not scary at all. Draw a card off Maze Mind. We get Tower. And this game is practically over. We draw Surgical. So play Tower. Thought Knot Seer. Let's take a look at what's going on in that 2-card hand. Stinkweed Imp and Loam. Take Imp. Opponent's last card in hand is Loam. So I'm going to crack Relic and draw. I'm going to draw an extra card here. Then I'm going to play map. Pass the turn. Opponent mills themselves, so they can loam back a Bloodstained Mire. They have Thrilling Discovery, okay. They don't ditch any cards. They just gain life and scoop. Yeah, run it back. Opponent didn't even see that we have Surgical Extraction, so that's probably a good sign. Yeah, this looks like a good hand. We'll keep. We're going to have to be judicious with this Surgical Extraction. Opponent starts by cracking Wooded Foothills, getting a Stomping Ground, and playing a Shriekhorn. Alright, they pass. We draw. We got Natural Tron. Just start mine, pass the turn. Opponent mills themselves, milling Prized Amalgam. Okay. They untap. They mill themselves again into double Creeping Chill. I could surgically extract that to not take 6 damage, but I think hitting the creatures is more important. I always tell myself, like, the last 5 times I've played Surgical Extraction versus Dredge, I have called the correct line, and then something has possessed me to do something that is incorrect. Every time. So opponent shocks Sacred Foundry. Then they're going to loam back a bunch of lands. Sure. Alright. We untap. I mean, at this point, if we could draw Ugin, that'd be amazing. We draw Eldrazi Temple. Well, it doesn't speed us up. Play Power Plant, pass the turn. Opponent untaps, mills themselves, pre-dredge, hitting a second Amalgam. And then they dredge Narcomoeba. Exile the Amalgams. They have Bloodghast, Ancient Grudge, and Loam in their hand. Okay. Opponent plays Arid Mesa, cracks Arid Mesa, gets a Blood Crypt tapped. And I imagine they cast Loam here? They do. They pick up all their lands. We untap, draw Expedition Map. So play Tower, play Thought-Knot Seer. Do we even care that much about Ancient Grudge? I guess we kind of do. Bloodghast is a lot less of a threat, so I'm going to take Ancient Grudge. Then I'm going to play Map, and I'm going to activate Map. I guess I just get a redundant tower here, really. Like, we have 2 swamps in our hand, so unless we need to, like, Damnation next turn, we're fine. So opponent dredges Loam. They can Loam, cycle Cave, and Loam again. Alright, so opponent does a bunch of stuff, hits us for 1. Sorry, I got distracted by an important message. So they Loamed, cycled Forgotten Cave, and dredged Imp. We untap. We draw Erebos' Intervention. So we can just exile their whole grave at our leisure now. Go to combat. Attack them for 4. And I think I'm going to do this now, because they have Conflagrate, and they have some Dredgers, and they have Ox. I wish that Erebos' Intervention gained life regardless of what mode you chose. It'd be so good. So yeah, just exile their grave. Alright, pass the turn. If they hardcast Stinkweed Imp, we can Collective Brutality, maximum value to kill it, if we don't draw, like, Ugin. Opponent casts a no-value Loam. They attack us down to 10, which matters because Bloodghast. We draw another Thought-Knot Seer. Play Thought-Knot Seer. Take Bloodghast from them. They have nothing in hand. So play a Swamp. We'll go 2 modes. Kill Drain. I do have to kill the Imp, because it's going to get in the grave one way or another anyway. We'll ditch Eldrazi Temple. Go to combat. Hit them down to 8. They can just dredge Imp and replay it here, though. But we should have a lot of good top decks from this position. Okay, opponent dredges Imp. They Creeping Chill us down to 9. And they replay Imp. They're holding 4 lands, though. And they're not playing them because I think, what's it called? They're not playing them because of Conflagrate. We draw Surgical, so Conflagrate doesn't really matter. Go to combat. Attack for 8. Opponent blocks with Imp, so they're going to kill Thought-Knot and get to draw. So we're going to surgically extract Imp. They have a Conflagrate left. They have some Narcomoebas and an Ox. So they kill our Thought-Knot and get to draw. They can dredge Loam if they want. They get a Narcomoeba out of the deal, and a Thug in the grave. Okay, we're still not out of this yet. We do need to draw... Mastermind's Acquisition at this point would get us to Ugin. Did I take Mastermind's Acquisition out? I don't think so. I don't like taking out the Singleton Tutors in this deck. It's one of the reasons I like playing this deck. Man, even if we just had an Exsanguinate in this deck somewhere, Opponent loams a bunch of stuff, plays Thug, attacks us for 2. We take 2 and go to 6. Untap. We draw another tower. Go to combat. Yeah, attack for 4. Not attacking here might actually be correct because Golgari Thug dredges them 1 deeper. No, it doesn't. Golgari Thug puts itself on top of the deck. Okay, opponent untaps. No! They milled into their Conflagrate, even with Thug putting itself back on top of the deck. Oh, that's so frustrating! If Erebos' intervention had actually gained us life, we would be fine. Oh. We just die to a burn spell. That's super frustrating. The 2 matches we lost, we definitely should have won. Like, our opponents were, like, basically top-decking. We had the removal. We had the answer. That last one we just bricked for, like, 4 turns. This version of the deck is way better than the last version. I'll see you guys in round 5. Alright, this hand is good versus most decks, I think. So I am going to keep it. It is slightly better versus aggressive decks. Play Swamp. Play Expedition Map. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Polluted Delta. We untap and draw Urza's Mine. So, duress our opponent. Opponent cracks Polluted Delta. For a Hollowed Fountain untapped, is this a Spell Snare? It is an Opt. Okay, so it's kind of looking like Control at this moment. It is definitely Control at this moment. Opponent does have Force of Negation. 2 mana leaks. I'm going to take Opt from them, and I really hope they don't draw a second basic. Or a second land, I mean. They untap. They don't draw land. We untap. We draw Inquisition. So, duress. Take Force of Negation. Play Urborg. Inquisition. Take Mana Leak. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They don't draw land. We untap. Draw Baleful Mastery. Crack Map. Get Power Plant. Play Power Plant. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They don't draw anything. We untap. We draw Thought-Knot Seer. Thought-Knot Seer will get pathed, and will probably end up drawing my opponent a land. So I'm just going to play Trading Post. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Then passes, discarding Path to Exile to hand size. We draw an Urza's Mine. Play Urza's Mine. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They finally play an island. So stop on my opponent's end step. Pay a life, make a goat. We untap. We draw a Power Plant. Get back Expedition Map. Play Map. Activate Map. Get Tower. Play Tower. Pass the turn, leave up Baleful Mastery. Opponent untaps. They play Flooded Strand. And they pass. We untap. We draw Expedition Map. Play Power Plant. Play Map. Sack Map and draw a card. Another Tower. I think we're past the point of just waiting on Thought-Knot Seer to be good. So we'll cast Thought-Knot Seer. We can pay for Mana Leak. Opponent can Archmage's Charm, but they've already discarded a path, so they probably just do their other path. They crack Flooded Strand for basic island. Triple blue. Archmage's Charm to counter. That's interesting when they have so much creature removal. But okay. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They opt. They play an island. And they pass. We untap. We draw Urza's Mine. Play a second tower. Pass the turn. Opponent Archmage's Charm to draw cards. That's fine. Opponent plays a Jace the Mind Sculptor. They're going to Brainstorm. So we Baleful Mastery. Exile Jace. Make a goat. Opponent gets to finish Brainstorming. Then they pass turn and discard. They might have actually just Brainstorm locked themselves. They got rid of the Plains. Players is mine. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They're going to Snapcaster Mage for an opt. Then they opt. Then they pass. So we sacrifice a creature, get back Expedition Map, untap. Opponent discards Timely Reinforcements. We untap and get Inquisition. Inquisition our opponent. Opponent has Snapcaster, Path, Spell Snare, Leak, Negation. So discard Negation. Blood Chief's Thirst. Opponent might path themselves here. They do. Okay. Play map. Sack map and draw. Play Maze Mine Tome. Then draw. Play Maze Mine Tome. Then draw. Play Eldrazi Temple. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Field of Ruin. We are insulated from Tron land destruction by having duplicates of every Tron land. We draw Swamp. So, draw an extra card. Draw an extra card. Man, we can just not find a way to do anything this game, can we? Play an Urza's Tower. Pass the turn. We have drawn just as many cards as our opponent has at this point. Opponent flashes in Snapcaster. Probably for Archmage's Charm to draw more cards. Yep. They untap. They play a Field. 5 mana. Opponent plays Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. They uptick Teferi. Attack us for 2. Make a goat. We untap. Opponent gets to untap first. We untap. We draw for turn. Baleful Mastery. Draw an extra card. Draw an extra card. Play a Swamp. Blood Chief's Thirst, target Teferi. They let it go. Alright. Yeah. Pass the turn. Those multiple fields are a little bit of a problem. Because they take our mana lead from utterly oppressive to just kind of a normal amount. Opponent untaps. They draw. They play a Hallowed Fountain untapped. So let's go ahead and kill Snapcaster and gain 9 life. Okay. They take out our power plant. Get a Swamp. Opponent gets an island. They play Big Teferi. They're going to plus. So, exile Teferi. It worked. Opponent gets to draw. So they pass to their end step. They get to untap some lands. We have no artifacts we want to buy back right now. Untap. We draw. Expedition map. So, activate Maze Mine Tome. Sack it in response. We get Tribute to Hunger. We do not gain life. And we get Power Plant. Play Power Plant. Play Expedition Map. Pass the turn! Oh, man. Sure. No attacks. Who runs out of win conditions first? Probably us, I would imagine. Opponent found another field. They activate it. We activate map. Get the final power plant. At least they're kind enough to thin our deck for us. Okay, then they do nothing. We untap. We draw Inquisition. Play power plant. Lead on Inquisition. We'll take the hard counter from them. And we'll draw an extra card. Sack it in response. Because we don't need the life, we'd rather have the extra cards. We get Relic. Relic is kind of interesting. Because our opponent's like Snapcaster has now become like hugely bad. We know their entire hand, so play Relic. Nuke the Graves. We draw nothing. Play Maze Mine Tome. Draw again. Maybe we should have a big Eldrazi in the sideboard, or in the main deck, just for situations like this. Alright, we're out of cards to draw. Pass the turn. We are in danger of decking ourselves first. We know our opponent's entire hand, though. And if we get Mastermind's Acquisition, we can tutor for the force you to discard your whole hand spell. The opponent plays Teferi. They bounce Trading Post. Sure. Trading Post's been doing some work. We untap. We draw. Ugin. First things first. Draw an extra card. Thoughtseize. Play a Swamp. Thoughtseize our opponent. Take a Mana Leak. Play Ugin. Kill Teferi. Play Trading Post. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw. And they got nothing. We untap. We draw. Karn Liberated. Draw an extra card. Map. Uptick Ugin on our opponent. I don't think there's any reason to hold back Karn here. So play Karn, uptick on our opponent. They give us Path. Play a land, pass the turn. No attacks. Opponent untaps. 3 mana, 4 mana, they play Jace. They Brainstorm. They play Glacial Fortress. We have no idea what's in their hand now, actually. And they pass. We untap. Draw Mastermind's Acquisition. Exile Jace. Draw an extra card. Sack it in response. Get an Urza's Mine. And Consuming Vapors. So, wish for a card from our sideboard. Get Thought Distortion. Thought Distortion our opponent. So discard your whole hand, opponent. Nice. How do they have a card in hand now? How do they have a card in hand? Oh, all non-creature, non-land cards. Okay. So they have an island in their hand. That's fine. Probably upticking Ugin 4 times is the best way to win, but let's alt Ugin. If I have to restart the game with Karn, I will. So put into play Thought Knot, land, map. Done. That's island. Yep. Go to combat. Attack him for 0. We only have 5 cards left in our deck. We should be careful. Watch my opponent Thought Scour me and we lose after all this. Yeah, I probably should have at least one way to win the game in the sideboard. Its opponent casts Supreme Verdict. I'm gonna Baleful Mastery my own... Oh, is it when it leaves? Okay, no, never mind. Not doing that. Opponent gets to draw 2 cards. They pass. Yeah, we should have just been upticking Ugin this whole time. We untap. We draw Urza's Tower. Start by upticking Ugin. Thoughtseize. Opponent Snapcaster Mages. Cast Tribute to Hunger. They gain a life. Take their other Supreme Verdict. Uptick Karn. Take their last card in hand. We're going to decrease the clock by 1 and go get Wormcoil. The only reason we got this far is because we are like 5 turns ahead of our opponent. Because they just were on 1 land for like 9 million years. Play Wormcoil, pass the turn. Opponent has 1 draw. And I think they've discarded all of their paths. If their last card is Path, I'll be really upset because I'm auto-yielded. Okay, we untap. Draw Dismember. Go to combat. Attack for 6. Opponent takes 6, goes to 2. Kill our opponent. Alright, now I need to restart the client and play very fast because I only have 8 minutes left. Okay, so quickly sideboarding, we definitely want to bring in Thought Distortion on Thoughtseize. We're going to cut Dismember, Consuming Vapors, and I think an Erebos' Intervention. Run it like this. Alright, we got to play fast. We're going to keep this hand. Opponent probably didn't keep a 1-lander this time. They start with a tap land, though. We draw a Swamp, which is great. Play Expedition Map. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Field of Ruin. Play Urza's Tower. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They do nothing. Interesting. Activate Map. Get Power Plant. Untap. We draw Thought Distortion. Play Power Plant. Play Thought Knot Seer. We can play around Mana Leak, but not Path. Opponent paths us. This does give us our other land for Thought Distortion, though, which is great. They have Ashiok, Dream Render, and Ceremonious Rejection. I'm going to take Ashiok because that's their only proactive play. Then I'm going to play Maze Mind Tome. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They draw an island. Okay, they're going to activate Field, which does take us off of Thought Distortion this turn. Okay, pass to their end step. We're going to try and scry for a tower. Urborg to the bottom. Tribute to Hunger to the bottom. We draw Collective Brutality. Play a Swamp. Inquisition, because they have Ceremonious Rejection. Take Ceremonious Rejection. Then play Thought Knot to take Jace. This stops them from having any proactive play. Pass the turn. And then we just need to scry into a land and we can cast Thought Distortion. Okay, opponent found a land. We untap. Scry. Bloodchief's Thirst to the bottom. We draw a tower. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Opponent takes 4. Play tower. Goodbye hand. Opponent could like Cryptic bounce Thought Knot if they wanted, but then we would replay Thought Knot. This card seems unbeatable for blue-white control. Just saying. So opponent is going to Cryptic bounce, probably Thought Knot on the off chance they're going to try and draw a land off the top of their deck. That forces us to replay Thought Knot, so we can't use our mana for anything else. They get to draw an additional card this way too. They get a Flooded Strand out of the deal, but they lose everything else. Oh, non-creature, non-land, okay. Well, we get to Thought Knot Seer, and we get to take Snapcaster, leaving our opponent with just Flooded Strand. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They opt. They play Flooded Strand. We untap. We draw Eldrazi Temple. Go to combat. Attack for 4. Opponent takes 4, goes to 12. Draw with Maze Mind Tome. Gain 4. Get Inquisition. Hand check. Snapcaster Mage. Targets opt. Okay, they let Inquisition resolve. No cards in their hand. Kill Snapcaster. Play Eldrazi Temple. Leave up Baleful Mastery. Okay. Opponent opts on our end step. They untap. Looks like an Archmage's Charm. Ashiok. Okay. Full price Baleful Mastery. They exiled a Thought-Knot Seer, and that's about the only thing of value they exiled. We untap. We draw Power Plant. Go to combat. Hit them for 4, take them to 8. Play Power Plant, pass the turn. Our opponent definitely top decks better than us. That much is for certain. They play an island. We untap. We draw Erebos' Intervention, go to combat. Attack for 4, take them to 4. Okay. They untap. They draw. And scoop! We beat Blue-White Control with Mono Black Tron in some of the best games I've played. We should not have won that game 1. However, we should have won all of our other matches with ease. Let's go ahead and open our treasure chest. 20 play points and Spectacle Mage, Treasure Avatar, and Graph-Digger's Cage, which I think is actually worth a small amount. It is like a ticket. Alright, well, that's something. Okay, this version of the deck felt way better, and we also played against a lot better matchups. All of the decks we played against today were beatable in one way or another. Versus Control, we might want something for some late game inevitability, like playing maybe instead of playing a second Ugin, we play an Ulamog. Or heck, we put an Emrakul in the sideboard for the anti-mill matchup. But this deck is better than I had initially hoped, which is good. The Maze Mind Tomes did a ton of work. We drew so many extra cards. The life gain, I think, mattered one time. Dredge should have been beatable. They just ended up getting lucky and milling into their last Conflagrate on the first try. Although that match would have been a lot harder to win. This deck does feel like I'm playing too many low drops and not enough endgame, but like in the games where we have our endgame and our opener, it's like, what do we do, right? Thought-Knot Seer is a nice bridge because we can always play a Thought-Knot Seer. We'll generally play 4 lands. We have enough delay to get there, but like anything that costs more than that is a problem. So maybe we play something like Walking Ballista. Karn Great Creator might be better in this deck than actual Karn Liberated, but then I don't want to take too much out of the sideboard for to turn it into a true wish board. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The last few times have been earlier than that. Mono Black Tron, if you got the cards, play it while you can. If it seems interesting to you, it is at least fun to play. So, alright. Hope you guys enjoyed. You're wonderful human beings. Thanks for watching. Bye! Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of May. If you want to support my channel directly and have your name show up in this list, there's a link to my Patreon in the description down below. Thank you all.